Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and this is my TBR video for March Mystery Madness. It is coming very soon and I'm so excited. I will put all the information in the description box below of the names of the other hosts and all of the different ways you can be involved. We've got stuff going on here on YouTube. We've also got stuff going on Discord and Goodreads and Twitter and Instagram, and you will want to be involved in all of it because it is going to be so much fun. So if you don't know what March Mystery Madness is, I'll include a link to my announcement video in the cards above, so do check that out. This video is going to be the possibilities I've chosen for what I will read during March Mystery Madness. I don't do TBRs. The only time I do them is for special events. And even then, I like to give myself choices. So I'm very much a mood reader, and if I am given like a really short list of these are the books you have to read, I don't want to read any of those books. So what I have done is pulled out possibilities for each prompt that I will choose from during the month of March. So let's just dive right into this. The first prompt is single, and I've got a few choices here. This is Arrowood by Mick Finlay. This is a historical mystery set in 1895 in London, and what I like about the description here is it says, the rich turn to Sherlock Holmes, but the celebrated private detective rarely visits the densely populated streets of South London, where the crimes are sleazier and the people are poorer. Victims turn to a man who despises Holmes, his wealthy clientele, and his showy forensic approach to crime. Arrowood, a self-taught psychologist, occasional drunkard, and private investigator. I also have Unsolicited by Julie Kaewert. This is the first in her Book Lovers mystery series. These are also set in London, Plumtree Press. And it's about, this one is about an anonymous author known to the press only as Arthur has vanished, leaving the crucial last 5 chapters of his book undelivered. And it's a book about that might reveal the identity of the characters who smuggled British children to America during World War II. So that just sounds, yeah, really interesting. Crippen by John Boyne. Now, Crippen, of course, is famous. He killed his wife, Dr. Crippen, killed his wife and buried her in the cellar in, 1910. And then he tried to escape with his lover, who he had dressed up as a boy. And famously, the detective who was after them caught them by the first use of the telegram or the telegraph in this situation. So he sent a telegraph to the ship that he was coming, and he took another ship and then boarded. Anyway, like, it was like a great story, and so this is just a novel written about that true event. And then finally, Bedlam by Laura Jo Rowland, The Further Secret Adventures of Charlotte Bronte. So fascinating. Takes the reader into the most sinister institution in London, Bedlam Insane Asylum. So yeah, how could that not be awesome? Okay, for the prompt of person, for the prompt of number, I have 9 Coaches Waiting by Mary Stewart. So yeah, 9 Coaches Waiting. It's about an English girl who goes as a governess for a young French boy. I love Mary Stewart. The 7% Solution by Nicholas Meyer. I've had this book for a little bit and I'm really excited to finally get to it. This is being a reprint from the reminiscences of John H. Watson, MD, as edited by Nicholas Meyer. I love it when they do stuff like that. So we are heading back to London, where Sherlock Holmes and the faithful Dr. Watson stalk the minions of evil, and to the romantic decadent world of 19th century Vienna, where the remarkable Dr. Sigmund Freud must try to cure Holmes of his shocking addiction to cocaine. The Eight of Swords by John Dickson Carr. This is one of his Dr. Gideon Fell series, and this was published in 1934. The wealthy Mr. Septimus Deeping is found murdered in his study, yet the man who came to see him just 15 minutes earlier had never left the house, and for a very good reason. He too was dead. So John Dickson Carr quite often does locked room or impossible crime mysteries, so I'm excited about that one. And then this one, I feel like I should win some kind of bonus award. Number 17 by Louis Tracy. It's got a number plus the word number in the title. How could that not be awesome? A Tale of Intrigue and Murder in London. This was originally published in 1915. Apparently it involves multiple twists and turns, international intrigue, a motorcycle chase, and more. Okay, for the prompt of a person, I can choose from The Death of Colonel Mann by Cynthia Peale. This is a Beacon Hill mystery, so this is set in Boston in, I want to say the 1800s. Yeah, I want to say, yeah, the 1800s. Behind the curtained windows of Victorian Boston is a world of passion, scandal, and murder. The Haunting of Maddy Clare by Simone St. James. This is set in England in the 1920s. A young woman of limited means and even less experience confronts the ghost of a mysterious serving maid. Death of a Schoolgirl by Joanna Cambell Slan. A schoolgirl is a person, so I'm counting it. This is one of the Jane Eyre chronicles. So yeah, I was super fascinated by this. Jane Eyre is a character in this, the main character. Picking up where Bronte left off, Jane's life has settled into a comfortable pattern. She and her beloved Edward Rochester are married and have an infant son. But Jane soon finds herself in the midst of new challenges and threats to those she loves. So who couldn't love a mystery where Jane Eyre is the main character? Yeah, awesome. Okay, and then Canaletto and the Case of the Westminster Bridge. I could also technically use this for Place by Janet Laurence. Famous painter Canaletto plays detective in 18th century London. Right? Isn't that awesome? London, 1746, an Italian painter Canaletto arrives to paint the new Westminster Bridge. Eager to rediscover the fame and fortune he once enjoyed in Venice. No sooner does he land, however, than danger dogs his footsteps. All right, and then for the prompt of place, I had a few more than the other categories, just because I had a ton of books to choose from that had a place in the title. And so we have The Messenger of Athens by Anne Zouroudi. This is a 7 Deadly Sins mystery. I love the cover on this one. It is set on the idyllic but remote Greek island of Thyminos, seemingly untouched by the modern world, but a battered body of a young woman is discovered at the foot of the cliff, and the local police, governed more by archaic rules of honor than by the law, are quick to close the case, dismissing her death as an accident. The Canterbury Papers by Judith Call Healy. This is a historical mystery set in England and France. filled with intrigue and peopled by compellingly legendary figures. We have the King of France's sister, who is abducted while on her mission for the wily Eleanor of Aquitaine to retrieve hidden letters that in the wrong hand could bring down the English king. Yeah, sounds good. The Curious Incident at Claridge's by R.T. Rakev. This one, I've had this one for quite a while, and I'm really excited to be finally getting to it, because this one seems like, from the cover and the title, that it should be at least set in the golden age of mystery, but it's not. It's set in modern times, like it's contemporary, but it is very much a traditional whodunit in the style of the golden age. The author, this is part of a series, but it's the only one that I have, so I'm going to start here. It is an Antonia, Darcy, and Major Payne mystery. The author is Bulgarian, who now lives in London, and he wrote his dissertation on English crime fiction. So yeah, this just sounds really fun. And we have The Corpse at the Crystal Palace by Carola Dunn. This is part of her Daisy Dalrymple series. This is a series of cozy historical mysteries set in the 20s. And this one, of course, they go to the great exhibition at the Crystal Palace. A Strange Scottish Shore by Juliana Gray. This is also a historical mystery set in Scotland in 1906. They head to the Orkney Islands, which is also awesome. And there is also archaeological digs involved, and I always love that. All right, a couple more for this category is Sweet Thames by Matthew Neal. This is set in London in the summer of 1849, with the deadly cholera epidemic threatening. Young engineer Joshua Jevons is convinced it is his mission to save the capital and reform its festering sewers. But then a disappearance throws his whole life upside down. He will find that it is in this very world that holds unexpected answers to the mysteries that surround him. Sorry if I'm clearing my throat and snuffling. I still have this cold, but I really wanted to get this video out. And then finally, Satan in St. Mary's by P.C. Doherty. This is the first in his Hugh Corbett series, and I've been reading that series, but I started like at least halfway through and then continued, so I'm excited to go back to the very beginning. This is set in 1284, and Hugh Corbett is a clever clerk from the Court of King's Bench who investigates murders and stuff. Okay, for weather, I have Bone Cold by Erica Spindler. Don't ever think you're safe. She thought the nightmare was over, but it was only just beginning. 23 years ago, Anna North survived a living nightmare. A madman kidnapped her, cut off her pinky, and then vanished. Today, Anna lives in New Orleans writing dark thrillers under another name, and she finally feels safe. But I have a sneaking suspicion she shouldn't. A Fine Red Rain by Stewart M. Kaminsky. This could also count for the color category. This is an Inspector Porfiry Rostenakov mystery set in Moscow during when it was still part of the Soviet Union. So yeah, this was published in 1987. Moscow's top cops take the case as multiple murders sweep the city. And then Death in Autumn by Magdalene Nab. This is a modern day series, although this was published in the 80s, yeah. But it is set in Florence, which I think is fantastic. And it is about a detective known as the Marshal. So yeah, I'm excited to get into that. That sounds good. And then finally, Roses in the Tempest by Jerry Westerson, sorry. This is a tale of Tudor England. A king, a knight, and a prioress, Isabella Launder. She surrenders herself to a small nunnery in order to forget her unrequited love for a courtier. So I love Tudor era mysteries. Okay, let's get into color. This is Green for Danger by Christiana Brand. This is also the book that was chosen in the BookTube spin. So of all of the books, this is one that I absolutely have to read in March. This was published in the 40s, 1944, and it is set in a military hospital during the Blitz. Which, yeah, that just sounds great. I have Red Bones by Anne Cleves. This is from her Jimmy Perez series. So he's a police officer on the island of Shetland in Scotland. Silver Spoon Murders by D.W. Smith. This is a Detective Chief Inspector Harry Fathers mystery. I've never heard of this author or this series. He is a DCI of Scotland Yard's Serious Crimes Squad. And he is brought in when a weekend in the country turns into a nightmare. And then finally, The Black Tower by Louis Bayard. I have a sneaking suspicion that this was on my TBR for last year's March Mystery Madness and I never got to it. So we'll see if we get to it this time. This is a historical mystery set in Paris in 1818. And it has this great map of Paris of the time for the end papers. And is this one, I'm not sure if this one's translated. I don't think so. No, it doesn't look like it's been translated. Okay. Let's get into time. I only have two for this prompt actually. This Night's Foul Work by Fred Vargas. This is also set in France. This one has been translated. This has been translated by Sean Reynolds. And so the main character is Commissioner Adamsberg. And this is part of a series. On the outskirts of Paris, two men are discovered with their throats cut. In Normandy, two stags have been killed and their hearts cut out. Meanwhile, a 75-year-old nurse who had murdered several of her patients has escaped from prison. Is there a connection between these three cases? And then I have The After House by Mary Roberts Reinhardt. After is a word related to time. This was first published in 1914 and it's about a girl who is going on a trip on a yacht, and gets herself into some trouble. Okay, and then finally space. So I have The Royal Box by Francis Parkinson Keyes. This is set in London, I believe in London. This was written in 1954 and it is about a murder that takes place in a royal box at one of the theaters in London. Closed Circle by Robert Goddard. This is set in 1931 and it takes place on a transatlantic liner called the Empress of Britain, and there are two confidence tricksters among the first class passengers, and so that just sounds great. I also have Full Dark House by Christopher Fowler. This is the very first in his Peculiar Crimes Unit series, and I've never read it. This is a series that I absolutely love, but I've read completely out of order, and so I'm really excited to get to the very first in the series. This is a humorous series set in London. It's a little bit quirky. The two main detectives are detectives who are nearing their retirement, or in the case of Arthur Bryant, probably should also already be retired. But I love this series, and the love of the city of London that comes out in this series is just fantastic. And then finally for space is City of Dark Hearts by James Conan. A glittering new world hides a terrible truth. It is 1893, and a young New Yorker goes missing in America's most dangerous city, New York. Nope, Chicago. It's a New Yorker that goes missing in Chicago. Okay, and then for the bonus prompt was to read a book that you chose simply from the title. And I already mentioned a title in my recommendations video, and I'm not reading it, but I wanted to mention it because I love the title so much, and that's A Season of Sins and Snow by Patricia Moyes, which I just think is a great title. And this is another one that I've already read, but I love the title, and this is Whiskey from Small Glasses by Denzel Mayrick. This is a modern day police procedural set in Scotland. Okay, but to choose from for myself to read, where I loved the title, this is The Chuckling Fingers by Mabel Seeley. This was published in 1941, and it was advertised as the mystery of the year. Let's see if I can get a better... Mabel Seeley is called Minnesota's answer to Agatha Christie. The weird and strange events that beset the Heaton family, Minnesota lumber tycoons, at their remote pine-forested estate called Fiddler's Fingers on Lake Superior. So that just sounds great. I love it when I hear the word remote. That's always good in a mystery. The Care and Management of Lies by Jacqueline Winspear. This is a novel of the Great War. So she is best known for her Maisie Dobbs series, but this is set in July 1914. So yeah, I love that title. There Are No Ghosts in the Soviet Union by Reginald Hill. He is famous for his DL and Pascoe series, but this is obviously not. In Suburban Luton, a private detective on his first case discovers that curiosity can kill more than just the cat. Meanwhile, in wartime Boulogne, one officer will do anything to ensure that his men are ready to kill for their country. And in Stalinist Moscow, Inspector Chislenko must find out why 3 people have just witnessed a 50-year-old murder. From France to Russia, the 1830s to 1916, and the present day, Reginald Hill has crafted a half a dozen tantalizing tales of the unexpected. He asks questions that will intrigue and give answers that will astound. So this one, I love the title, but this one is actually short stories, and so I may actually just read, or novellas, I may actually just read the first one, There Are No Ghosts in the Soviet Union. We'll see. A Plague on Both Your Houses by Susanna Gregory. This is the first chronicle of Matthew Bartholomew. And this is set in 1348 Cambridge. And Matthew Bartholomew is a physician. All right, and then My Foe Outstretched Beneath the Tree by V.C. Clinton Baddeley. I love this title. It's so fantastic. This was published in 1968. And I don't know what it's about. Oh, the hall porter was not in a position to see, nor was he likely to remember if anyone was absent in that direction longer than usual. Besides, Why should anyone be absent longer than usual? It takes no longer to knock a man cold than it does to visit the gents. At which point Davy perceived that he was anticipating. Perhaps the doctor would report a thrombosis. Perhaps Brent had hit himself in falling. Perhaps, but Davy did not think so, not for a moment. Sometime between 3 and shortly after 11 o'clock, when Davy had looked out of his window, someone had done Brent in. And then finally, The Human Flies by Hans Olaf Lahlum. This is set in Oslo in 1968, and it just sounds great. There's an element of kind of locked room. They were being killed off one by one, so sort of an element of that golden age style. And so yeah, I'm really excited to get into this one. This one's translated from the Norwegian by Carrie Dickson. And so there you have it. That is my pile of possibilities for March Mystery Madness. Are you planning on participating in March Mystery Madness? If you don't do videos, I would love to hear about what you're planning to read for March Mystery Madness. Please let me know in the comment section down below. Also, have you read any of these books? Because if you recommend any to me, I will probably read those sooner rather than later. So let's chat in the comment section down below, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.